Thank you for joining us on Worldwide Slot Car Chat. This is the 86th time that we're going to sit around talking about slot cars in a row, pretty much, which is pretty cool. I'm your host, Greg Gaub, and we got a good gang going here. We got Mr. Underwood, John. We got Gaza, Gary, Luff, Old Slot Racer, Chuck, Mr. Gibkey, Kit, Mr. Scale Car Garage, Martin Dodd, Big Den, Leo, Steve, Frank, Mike, Jim, Garth, Dewan, and other people, and we're going to talk about slot cars. So have fun and listen in and join us on a live chat. And John, you're pointing out that is this Steve's first time here?
Yes.
All right.
Yes,
well, Steve, I am aware of your channel, and we're going to have you plug that. Would you like to tell us about yourself as a slot car racer, like we do when people come on this channel, or do you want to just chill and watch?
Well, no, if you want to hear it, I could tell you. It's a long story, so I'm going to keep it very short.
As long and as short as you like. You just go for it.
Yeah, well,
53 minutes is the time.
I'm 69 years old. I was born and raised in San Francisco. I've worked in the motion picture industry all my life. I'm still working in it. But I started with slot cars around 1960. My dad was a full-size driver. Besides being an engineer and a commercial artist, he raced in his early years, a lot of dirt track and midgets and things like that. And he knew all the drivers, and they used to come over to his house. AJ Foyt, Eddie Sachs, Bobby Unser, all those folks from Indy. And he had a big track at his house that was set up to be like Indy, and they raced Indy cars. And my dad and I also raced and built our own 124 scale, all the rust kit stuff and our own tubular frames. You know the deal. We did all that stuff. And unfortunately, my dad got he was hit and run in a car accident that killed him in 1966. Ironically, being a race driver, he gets killed in a company car going out to Mare Island. And that sort of ended it right there, because, and then I was getting close to going to high school and all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of went away. I kept it up for a while. And it wasn't until 2012. It might have been a little bit earlier than that. But I remember going on the internet and saying, I wonder how slot cars are doing out there. And I went and I checked, and I saw what Scale Electric was doing. I saw how realistic the cars were. I didn't realize at the time that Scale Electric cars, as good as they looked, were not the best cars in the world to race, but it didn't stop me from going to Electric Dreams and buying a Ninco track and a ton of extra. I built this enormous track in my garage, and I've never looked back. I've been doing it ever since. And because I work in the motion picture industry and I do things like make models for science fiction movies and creatures and all kinds of monsters and things like that, and I've done that for years. I know all the molding techniques. I know how to work with all the materials, from silicone to urethanes to fiberglass epoxies. So making my own slot cars really is quite appealing to me, because after doing all these enormous models like that big Enterprise behind me, it's so nice to build these little jewels, these wonderful little miniature cars that look and behave like the real cars, and you can race them with your friends. And for me, out of all the hobbies I'm into, from rocketry to RC submarines to model airplanes, I really love this one the best. I always have. So that's the short story.
Well, that was a perfect story, and obviously, your story has many similarities with a lot of us in here. So
I'm sure it does.
So welcome to the club. Welcome to the group.
Yes.
Hopefully you can come back often. And if you or somebody else wants to put your channel link down in the chat in here in the Zoom here, we'll make sure that goes in the description of the video when I post it to YouTube. So if you're not already aware of Steve's YouTube channel, definitely go check it out and check out all the cool modeling and molding and slot car related and totally unrelated to slot car stuff that Steve does. It's very interesting and fun to watch.
We should have got you to do Greg's Porsche instead of me.
You do just fine, John.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of stuff from you recently. You never stop learning.
Yeah.
and you're very inspiring too. When I like to get a nice cup of tea and sit down. Let's see what John's going to do today. And you really suck me in, and then it's like the minute I'm done watching, I want to go and start building something. So, and I'm sure you do that to lots of people, and that's really important.
Well, thank you. I can do that with everyone except my family.
Yeah, well,
They see it all the time. It's like, Dad's doing stuff again. Okay, just let him go do it.
excuse me, I still have a cold, so.
Oh, no worries.
Oh, geez.
So that's not a bad segue into reminding people, leave your microphone muted unless you're ready to talk. That way sneezes and coughs and pets and other people in the room don't disturb someone when they're presenting or talking or asking about things. And knowing where your mute button is a good thing. You can hit it and unmute and mute as necessary, like I do. So that's also a good segue. Yeah, we can't hear you at all, Neil. Good job. Or Steve, sorry. So good segue into our first segment of the show is show and tell. So if you have something you would like to show and or tell, raise your virtual hand, wave your actual hand, and I'll try to call on you. John has his virtual hand up, so I'll let him take first stab at show and tell. Hopefully it's something that I want to see.
Well, yeah, well, no, actually, that's back on the bench because our little sort of catastrophe that happened with the hot water tank is all solved.
Awesome.
Amazing, awesome. But I just wanted to show, and it's kind of a show and tell and a tip at the same time, because I'm a big fan of Carrera Track and I love Carrera Track. And this is one of the reasons it's great. And let me just show you. So there's our brand new water heater. That sort of electrical cable that had to go across our entire house and affected 3 rooms, which is another story. But it unplugged so well. And then when it was time to put it back together, it went back together and started working. It was phenomenal. So, if you do have a utility room and if that's your space, don't be afraid to build around things, as long as you can either, if you have a wooden track, put it on casters and get it out of the way, or in this case, if you've got a plastic track that you can then just strategically unzip and move, by all means, it nothing disrupted. And the good news is now I'm really thinking about some different sort of scenery. So it's if life hands you a lemon, make lemonade.
Yep. Sectional track has lots and lots of great pros, I will say, that you just don't get with permanent track or wood routed track. I mean, luff aside, wood track is not so easy to simply take apart and rebuild as you see fit. Did you have something else?
I'll tell you that. I was just going to say, but and if you do have a chance to paint, I don't know about Scalectric's track, but certainly Carrera, if you do paint it, it's pretty close. I won't say it's like a routed track, but it's pretty darn close. Lots of grip, easy to clean. You don't get any of that static charge from the plastic Carrera's unpainted track. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, great. Also, and Scalectric track can be painted and has the same benefits. A lot of people paint Scalectric track. Ninco track, not so much, but I've seen it done. Carrera track for sure. Yeah, and that's definitely one easy way to make your track more similar to a routed track is by putting the same top coat that you would put on a wood track. Flat latex paint is a great way to start. So all done, John? Awesome. Okay, and Martin, you have your virtual hand up. What you would like to share today, Martin?
Well, I've taken some photographs of the track. I think I can share content now. So
Yep.
I'll have a go if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Let's go.
Whatever you did earlier. There we go. All right. Waiting for it to come. Okay. So, yeah, we see your tower now.
That's showing out like a museum. Is that okay? Can you see that all right?
Yep, we see the tower.
Yeah, it's a Carrera tower. I use a Ninco track, which is about 40 feet. That's pretty much the same photograph. That's a bit lower down, showing the lower part of the pit buildings, or one of the pit buildings, number 8.
In the press room.
And a press room, yeah.
Martin, thank you very much for that idea. I'm going to steal it. I've got that tower and to display cars in it. I never thought of that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. The cars I put in are the ones that mean the most to me. So the car you can see there is the red Austin 3000 and the white Mercedes 190 SL. And they're the ones we started off with in 1967. Not the exact cars, I have to say, because they got lost in the fire in 1982. But they mean something to me, it's how we started off. And the sign you can see there that says welcome, I tried taking a video of that, but it didn't come out very good. And it says welcome to Willowbrook, which is the name of the track. And it's actually electronic.
That's one of those programmable badge things that you tell it what letters to do and it scrolls them across over and over.
That's exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. And it works really well.
That's a good idea.
That again is showing the VIP suites. And the pit garages as well. There's not many cars on site because our season's finished in October. That's a pit stop cafe, not very original, but again, it works. All the seats and everything I made myself. That's our trophy room. None of John's trophies in there yet because none of the cars has won any trophies yet to put in there. These are the start grid leading into the Michelin corner. They're a little bit out of sequence, but this is showing what we call the gauntlet, and then obviously the first aid box, and just people.
Is that a driver or a spectator, Martin, being taken away?
His name's John. No, just kidding.
There's plenty of extra Johns in the world. We can spare one.
Yeah. That goes under a bridge there, so you can see.
Well, I like your backdrop.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a bit damaged because we have to. It's not. I bought a shed which is 8 by 12, and it should have been twice the size of that. But when you look into an empty shed, it looks really big until you put the track in there, and it's like, oh, that's small.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Nice.
That's great. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, maybe we'll have to share that again next week when we do the track sharing day.
Yeah, I'll try to get some videos and hopefully it'll come out better.
But yeah, videos are a little bit trickier to share because you're sucking up a lot of bandwidth by doing your face and your voice and a video with audio. So pictures are definitely the way to go as far as sharing things. Frank, you've got your electronic hand up. Are you getting ready to share something? Because your video just cut out. It looks like Frank disappeared. So anybody else want to do a show and tell? Big Dan, you got your hand up. What would you like to show and or tell today? Frank, we'll get back to you.
Yeah, I've unmuted, so I'm on the game today. So, yeah, just a couple of things. Just a minute, I'll just go back to share screen. And where's it gone? Oh, there it is. And that's firstly just to prove I do watch the show when I'm not on, and someone had top written on one of their plaques on one of their screens last week, and so I thought, seeing it was a reference to Down Under, I'll play the game too. So, but for those of you in the Northern Hemisphere, I've put it up the right way.
Thank you.
Okay. So just a few slides. Few cars I've actually bought in the last week or so. Sadly, because of one of our races in Hobart decided to give the game away, so I was fortunate in acquiring a couple of cars from him. That's the slotted Aston Martin Lola. Another view of that. This is a sideways Daytona prototype. It's still sealed in the box, so I thought I'd buy that sort of as an investment. And that's just a file picture of it, how it looks without the packaging over it.
Yeah, those are great
Big
cars.
Dan, I was going to say that's a great idea. Instead of Bitcoin, we can call it Bitcar.
Bitcar, righto, John. Okay.
Those are great cars. They are basically built like a slotted Group C, so they drive a lot like a slotted Group C.
Yeah,
They're really quick.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the real world, the crowd stayed away in droves. They weren't all that popular, and I've known of a lot of slot car racers who aren't all that enthused about them as a visual thing. So yeah. Anyway, next one's the NSR 86, 89 Formula One
With a spare screw.
we did have 2 spare screws at one stage, but it's spare around the floor at the moment somewhere, and that's just it's a white kit. So I just thought I'd try and do a bit of a contrast there, so you can pick out the shape better. Most of do not adjust.
So I was going to say, have you thought about how you're going to decorate it, Big Dan?
Hey, listen, can I just run my presentation?
Yeah, John, shut it.
Oh, John! John's been schooled.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, viewers, do not adjust your set. It's meant to be that colour, and the colour scheme, the livery the one I'm thinking of is quite ambitious, but I really like it, and it's that one. It's the Brabham Judd from the 1990. That's not Damon Hill's car, but it was one of his first F1 cars, I believe. So it's quite a complex paint scheme, but I'm thinking about having a go at it as long as I can get the decals done. So yeah.
That'll look great.
Yeah, I did it on a narrow flexi car some years ago. Back about 30 years ago. It didn't come out. I didn't have the decals, access to the decals then, and I may still not. But the next part of this show, this was one I actually bought for one of our local racers. He hasn't got a slotted DTM yet, so this one was available. So I just grabbed that from him. That's the I think Nicola Larini car. It says Larini on the top there, so I'll take their word for it. And then I was sort of moving on. Just I didn't know about our track thing, but one of the guys in Hobart has built himself a scale electric track and put a few web shots up on the Hobart Miniature Car Club website. But I just thought you might be interested in. And it's scale electric, but he's modelled a lot of the scenery on the old Longford circuit near Launceston, where I live. So those of you, with a historical bent may recognise some of the scenery or the scenes. I'll just move. So there we go. Longford. It tells you the old imperial speed limit sign there. The Country Club Hotel, there's a better shot of that coming up, but he actually made that himself, from sheet and, printing out the brickwork and the artwork and turning it into something 3D. A grassy area or pit area with some of the cars of the day back in the mid to late 60s. There's a nice shot of the Country Club Hotel with somebody in the Cooper, I think, going around the corner. The control tower, obviously, and not period cars. Those I don't think yeah, Thunder Slot were around in 1966 or 67. So. One of the other features of the Longford circuit was the viaduct, which the railway line actually went over the top, I think. And so, yeah, there was a railway line across there. And so that's the viaduct modelled, just a little kiosk there if you want a bottle of fizzo back in the day, Coca-Cola. That's a a better overall view of his layout with the country club hotel. Have you got a little plaque over there that says, please, there's something on my screen saying, please move this window away. I don't know whether you guys are seeing that.
Yeah, we can see it. I'm not sure. It probably has something to do with Zoom and what window is foreground. I don't know.
Anyway, I've just moved it away. I was coming back in, but the there's the country club hotel. I think it used to be called. There's one of the corners was called Newry Corner or something like that. And the viaduct is up there somewhere in the background. This local car dealer at the time, Donald Gorringe. So that's true to period. A few more in the car park. Again, a move forward in time with some of the Bathurst cars from the early to mid 70s. And there we are. So I'll stop the share and someone else can have a go.
Awesome. Good stuff. And feel free to share tracks today. I'm certainly not going to tell you not to. And if we run out of track sharing next week, I'll just fire up oldslotracer.com and we can fill 2 hours quite easily by looking at other people's tracks on oldslotracer.com. Thanks for sharing, Big Den, and looking forward to probably a Club Corner report from you as well. Frank, it looks like you're back with us. You got your hand up.
Yeah.
What you got?
Yeah, my connectivity just went away real quick. Now I want to give a plug to your reciprocating machine. Where is it?
Looks like it's on your bench.
Somewhere on the bench. Oh, there it is. Nope.
Hey, it's working.
Look at that.
Very nice. How many volts are you running that?
3.5. Take my time. Get the tires overheated.
What kind of tires are you doing right now?
Those are, I believe, slotted in 22s for the race this coming Saturday at Electric Dreams. Possibly. There'll be a set that we use. But anyway, that's your machine, sir.
Good to see that it's working. Have you had any issues? Have you had any issues with it or suggestions for improvement?
The only issue I had was the plate catching on the edge of the front. You know what? Let me show you real quick if I can put it up there.
The sanding plate catching on the reciprocating machine or vice versa?
The reciprocating machine catching on the opening to where the sanding plate goes back and forth.
Okay.
And so I just had to, I can't remember exactly what I did, but I was able to get it to where it didn't catch.
The trickiest thing is getting the hitch, the ball hitch, glued to the sanding plate such that the hitch plate on the reciprocating machine isn't too low. So
right.
So what I recommend is when people put those two, when they glue that to the sanding plate, you actually put the plate and the hitch and the ball together on the tire raiser, and then glue them together, and then let that set up. And that's what you did. So it might still have been just a teeny bit low.
Possibly.
I can't think of a better way to do it. I did put a chamfer on the underside edge of the hitch plate so that it didn't like hit a hard edge.
Right.
But I can't make it a really shallow chamfer. It's got to be 45 degrees or it doesn't print well. So
exactly. I hear you.
So maybe
just a little adjustment and it works great. Thank you.
Well, I'm glad it was easy to adjust, and it's the fact that it's plastic makes it that much easier to adjust. I I was gonna say if it ever starts to, be problematic, then, just kind of smoothing out that chamfer on the bottom edge of
Right.
the hitch plate might help, or
Exactly.
the sides or wherever it's catching, just smooth it out a little bit.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks for showing that, Frank. I just
You're welcome.
I had just sold my last one. I had one more motor left, so I'm like, well, I might as well print a machine up. And then I'm like, well, I have this machine that nobody's asked for, so I might as well put it up on Facebook Marketplace things. And I had put the machine up on Facebook Marketplace before, but barely got any bites. And this time I said I have one of them and get like half a dozen guys being all like, I need one of those. It's like, okay. So I ordered more motors, and so, come January, I'll have motors and more of those to go. The main issue is that people want the original reciprocator machine that OxoCube designed, because his design works on the Area 3, which is the same as the Professor motor. Professor motor basically remanufactured and sold Area 3 Tyre True machines as opposed to Tyre Razor machines. So there's a lot of people out there with that machine, but my reciprocator doesn't work on that machine. You got to get OxoCube's original to work on that machine, but I don't have that machine in order to print those machines to sell to people, because I don't want to print his thing and not be 100% sure it's going to function on the machine. Like, my printing settings might make it not fit right? So I want to be able to make sure that I can print his machine and that it will work on their Tyre True machine. But I don't have a Tyre True, and I'm not going to say send me your Tyre True, because nobody's going to send me their Tyre True.
But Greg, I have one.
You have the Professor motor style?
Well, it says Tyre True on it, tiretrue.com. So,
well, maybe we'll work something out then, so that I can help people out get those reciprocators. And again, my reciprocator is based on extensive work done by OxoCube, also known as Kevin, whose design was for the Professor motor / Area 3 version. Both his design and my design, being derived from his design, are freely available on Thingiverse. If you have a printer or access to a 3D printer, or a friend with a 3D printer, or whatever the case may be, you can go download those files for free to print them for your machine if you have the machine. The little motors are only about $5 to $10 a piece. A little bit less if you get them in a pack of 10 like I did. And then some screws. That's pretty much it. So you don't need me to add one of these to your lives. But I'm happy to help. All right, so that out of the way. Again, thanks for sharing that, Frank. Does anybody else have anything they want to show and tell? If not, we'll switch over to another.
Why not?
All right, Steve, what do you got?
Yeah, well, also I wanted to ask Frank, there's a race this weekend in Electric Dreams, but don't you also race with our Far Out group?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you looked familiar. So
Yes, we
I'm a
have met
frequent-
before.
yeah, I'm a frequenter of Electric Dreams, but usually via the internet to buy another car, which I did today. I pulled the trigger on the Dream slot from Rio. I never saw one of those before, and I couldn't believe that Electric Dream still had those in stock. I managed to get the last one with the Australian markings, and it's looks like a very exciting car. But so I thought you looked familiar. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the power from my laptop with the portable webcam on it and attempt to go out to the back part, the garage part of my studio, which is where I'm at now, and show you what's on the bench out there.
Okay.
See if it works.
All right, everybody, cross your fingers.
Yeah, well, the Wi-Fi in here is pretty strong, but it's a big 2,000 foot square foot building with upstairs, downstairs, a lot of metal beams and stuff.
Yeah.
We'll see how it does. But I stay connected, hopefully. You can still see here.
Yep.
That's my full-size slot car.
Very nice.
And I've actually made it to the bench and things are still working. So that's pretty amazing. So I got this from Electric Dreams. Why do I have this up on the side of the screen? Hang on. Okay, I got this from Electric Dreams, and it was the kit version of the Lotus 38. And I'm going to get back for this so we'll get a little bit more in focus. But I've been slowly but surely working on this. You do not build this car fast. It has lots of brass, not brass, but metal etched parts, inserts, a very detailed suspension with shock absorbers. I changed the driver. I used their body, but I'm using one of Mark Tyler's immense miniatures because I use those a lot. They're very realistic looking drivers. And I've got about a whole can of clear on top of those decals. So there's, oh, here, get it in frame. So I don't think those decals will ever come off. I have a little bit of a disorientation problem here because they're not a mirror image. So that I've been working on. And of course, this car has a full metal frame. I really prefer the metal frames. And then over here is,
I'm loving that Revell track you have it sitting on top of.
yeah, well, there's one here. This is the test track at the studio, which this track was given to me by my local hobby shop. Someone came in, someone had passed away, and they had all this track and all these cars. I mean, look at this old Cheetah. This is from the day. That's everything on it's original from 1960s. And there was a box full of them. I've got rust kits and everything else in there. Some of them I've restored, like the Lotus 40 rust kit. It's beautiful. But this is all scratch built that I'm working on right now. And when I say scratch built, I mean getting a box with all the parts in it. It's all hand tooled. I didn't use any printers except for the small bits. And I went through several stages, you know, first starting out making a basic form. And I used cross sections, informers, and, you know, wire cut foam, sanded it to the proper shape, and then put fiberglass on it, very lightweight cloth, and got it shaped and proportional, made a mold on this. Then from that mold, I made another body that I hand scribed and put all the details in to, and did this several times, each time refining it more and more and more and getting more detail in it. It's hard to do. Till I finally, now I'm down to the very last pass on the body, and this pass is the one that will have a core in it with the post inside. It's very even on the inside, and so every time I cast one up, it'll be the same thickness with the post, with all the right scribe lines in it and stuff. It's just going through one more pass. These are the openings for the gas caps to the fuel tanks, which there's one either side of you, one in front of you. Just a wonderful thing to get in an accident with. And so this car here is the test car, which I've been running on the track. These forms here are for the for vacuum forming several windshields at one time. And we got someone at the door, and because we are a business, but they, I don't know what they want. So, and of course, the wheels and tires on this, and the rims, and the inserts are all from John Warren, who does an incredible job, and he made all this stuff up for me, even the tires. And this car runs so smooth and beautiful on the track. Now, the frame I got in here is a basic frame I built, but I'm having a brass etch frame, photo etched frame made that you can fold and solder for the actual frame for this. And there's been a lot of adjustments with that because the front suspension on this car is very far forward of where you think it would be. You can really see that from the side. It doesn't look right, but that is right. So these are the projects I got going. And of course, these are masters. and a stack of molds here. My molds are blue, John. I use the blue stuff. So, and so I don't want to go on too long with all that, but that's what I've been working on. And I'm going to go back to the other part of the studio.
Well, Steve, first of all, that looks fabulous. And I have to say, your workshop is way too neat.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, really? These are all molds for monsters and creatures from movies. There's the upstairs up there. Which
Wow.
This down here is my background that I'm working on. Get it in frame, Steve. Which is all hand airbrushed. There'll be hills and trees and stuff. And that goes behind the home track, which is the Scalextric track, which some of you have seen, that I just got rid of the Ninco track. And there's my Iron Giant, which I built from scratch. It's a full size. It's a quarter scale Iron Giant. So and as I wobble back in here, this is the big enterprise model I built years ago, and I sold several of these to museums, and the whole place is littered with models like video controlled submarines that work, the masks that my studio makes and sell that are from the Outer Limits and stuff like that. So my other hobby, the big sailboats. Might as well show you that. That's from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I built that for a project with Adam Savage. And so that's a real quick tour of the studio and what I do around here and what I'm working on presently. So, and I love that track. That old 50s, 60s Revell track works perfectly still. Even the power supply, the original, so you got to get rid of that. It's a fire hazard. Well, I forgot, left it on for 4 days. It was fine. It wasn't even warm. And the plunger controllers, they function perfectly. So it's amazing. Things back then were built to last. There's no question about it. So, yeah. Hey, Dwayne, we finally meet.
Well, thank you very much for showing all that stuff, Steve. And again, Steve has a lot of really great stuff on his channel, so check it out. We'll have the link.
Car stuff, though.
I mean, like you said earlier, a lot of the things that you do apply to slot cars. So it's just a matter of taking a skill that you've learned and applying it to what you're interested in. All right, so Jim, you got your virtual hand up. What's going on today, Jim?
As long as Frank was talking about the Enduro for this weekend, I finished preparing my 2 cars for the Enduro this weekend. I just thought I'd show them to you.
Looks nice.
Got a short wheelbase Porsche and a long wheelbase Toyota, and we'll see how they work this weekend.
Looks like you just have some weight in front of the motor. Do you got some weight behind the motor?
The only weight that's allowed are the slotted replacement tungsten.
Okay.
That is not allowed. It's an interesting rule set.
Yeah.
So you can put the tungsten weights, one in the back and one in the front, or neither, or either, or whatever you want to do. But that's the only ballast that's allowed in the car, other than the tungsten axle that I've built. But we won't talk about that. No, it does stay steel axles only. So I do have tungsten axles for other purposes, but that's another story.
Did you go with the weight in both pockets or just the fronts?
Well, I put them in. I'll probably start with just the one in the back and see how that works. So it's going to be I think it's going to be, for me, it's going to be a tire game, because I still think tires are probably 75% of slot car handling. So I've got about 10 sets of tires prepared.
Well, those look fantastic. I look forward to hearing how they go.
That's it for me. Oh, I did. I don't know if anybody's had the problem with this. I've had this problem a lot with that, where this goes in at a 90-degree bend in a stock car, it frays and breaks.
Yeah.
And so I just put a video up on my channel, but these are slotted LMP replacement braids, and they're pre-tinned, and they actually have a hole in them right here. So you just put the wire in it, solder it up, it's ready to go. So
doesn't that just move the weak point though?
No, but because it bends out here now in this big loop.
Okay.
So this pushes this way, and that's the theory. We'll see this weekend, but it's no longer that 90-degree bend that's always bending on each other and then ultimately braking. So the bend is like a 24 scale slot car where the loop is bending where it has less stress on it.
Yeah.
Be aware that they are very fragile, right, Greg?
What's very
Greg had it. I've got a Lola, and Greg was using it when we were testing last week, and it broke fairly easily.
Oh, I don't think he's not using the LMP guide itself. He's just using the braid.
What broke?
The guide post
The guide
of the
itself.
LMP guide.
No, this is just the LMP braid.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, I was misunderstood then.
Yeah, I saw it in my local hobby shop, and it's it's just a length of braid cut, but it's pre-tinned. And so instead of just using the regular braid and going in and tinning it myself, I go to buy this off the shelf and it's ready to go.
Yeah.
How do you have the braids held into the guide?
I'm still using the set screw to hold the braids in place.
Okay.
But then, like I said, there's actually just a hole right there that you just loop the wire through and
I know
with a soldering iron.
And solder it. Yeah, that's great. I'll look forward to hearing how that works out. How long is the race? How much track time does the car get?
Well, there's an hour qualifier and a 2-hour race if you make the main. So I think the last I heard there was at least 13 or 14 teams, and it's a 6-lane track. So the qualifying will weed it out, and it'll be 6 cars in the main.
Oh,
We're not getting home till midnight that night, Jim. We're back to your hotel. It's gonna be
yeah. I may come down this afternoon actually, and then be there tomorrow afternoon. But I'm definitely going to be there on Friday all day. And we have another team from Northern California coming down too. So
cool.
My teammate backed out last week, or didn't back out. He had to cancel for other reasons. So I'm picking up a teammate. So it'll be a NorCal, SoCal team, and then one other team strictly from Northern California.
Oh. So you're gonna have a SoCal teammate. Who is it?
Bill. I can't remember his last name. Starts with an A. Dennis.
This is for the race at Electric Dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Yeah.
That's only an hour from me, but I'm going to have to miss it because I'm going to Stevens next weekend, to Stephen Farr's house.
Far out race.
Yeah, Dennis helped me find a teammate, so I'm definitely coming down probably later today.
Cool.
So see all of you that I've not met in person. So that's it for me.
Good
All
stuff.
right.
Jim. Thanks for sharing. Does anybody else have any show and tell before we move on to other topics? Not seeing any real hands or virtual hands. And John already did a great tip of the day, so we'll clip that out and share that for those who don't watch this for some reason. I don't know. Anyways, we'll get a separate tip clipped out. I guess the next thing we normally do is Club Corner. So if anybody has any past club events or future club events, we can raise your virtual hand and we'll get you in line for that. While I'm waiting for virtual hands to pop up, Steve, if you want to learn how to do the virtual hand thing on your screen, there should be a more ... down in the bar with the tools. If you tap on that, you can tap reactions and then raise your virtual hand. But I'll just kind of, while you figure that out, I'll talk about the tire situation. So I didn't do any oiling of my tires. Some of the guys were saying that they were still using the Scale Auto tire cleaner, which is basically naphtha and some other stuff in there to do their foam tires and stuff. They were still doing that. And so I did that to my tires too. And, wood track, if you saw the video yesterday, this is on Russ's wood routed track. I'm pretty sure the surface is, latex like the other tracks are. And same thing happened to my car that had great grip at first, and then a few heats of my car on the track, not so much. I didn't hit the grass or anything that would pick up, excessive amounts of debris. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to clean the tires at all during the race. It's, you get what you get. And my tires dropped off in traction again. I was talking to one of the guys whose traction did not go away, at least not as bad. And he said that he basically just completely doused his tires with the cleaner. Like when I put his he was in the first heat, and when I put his car on the track, it left a trail of wetness on the track. And that's actually against our rules. I just didn't notice that his tires were wet because I assumed that all the tires were dry, because it's in our rules that the tires must be dry before the cars go on the track. Silly me assuming that rule was being followed by everybody. I'll double check next time I'm putting cars on the track, but I put his car on the track and it was still wet with so much tire cleaner on there. But I think that pretty much, everybody's suspicion that the tires are so sticky that they're picking up stuff is on the money, because at the end of the race, my car was on ice just like it had been before. And at the end of the race, after I'd done my last heat, I went over and I took out my travel lint roller and just ran the tires on the lint roller, and it was just it was just line after line after line after line of gunk that the tires had picked up, and basically polished itself to a smooth sheen of whatever it had picked up and had no more traction. So I'm not doing diddly squat to these tires anymore. I might get any residue on, like I'll practice, and then I'll use the lint roller again to get anything it might have picked up in practice, and let everybody else pick up the crap. Might not even do practice, just let them pick up crap with their tires, and hopefully my tires won't degrade quite so badly. But yeah, I got nothing. And people, like, there's posts on forums about what are the Pioneer Superthanes made of. And Jules, of course, it's a trade secret. He's not wanting to reveal his formulation for the tires. He says that it's a special formulation that he came up with, and with the tire people, and whatever it is what it is. So we don't know exactly what it is, but it acts like rubber. Everything that it does acts like rubber. The way that it trues, the way that it absorbs oil, the way that it gums up if you true it too hard, etc. It acts like a nice soft rubber. But yeah, I don't know.
How many different tracks have you run?
Multiple, yeah. Most. This is what's happened. Most often, this happens on the routed tracks. It still happened on the Scalextric Sport track, but it didn't go off quite as badly on the Sport track. But the weird thing is that the people whose traction doesn't go away so badly are basically doing the same thing. As far as I say, what are you doing to your tires? And they say, oh, we put the NSR oil on. I'm like, well, that's the oil I'm putting on mine. Cleaning them with a Scale Auto tire cleaner dauber thing. That's what I'm doing on mine. As far as I can tell, we're all doing more or less the same thing, but some of their cars are just not going off. Some of their tires are not going off as bad as other people's are. I don't know.
Same tires?
Same exact tires. They're we're all running stock tires, the Pioneer Legends tires, whatever the Superthane is. That's what we're all running. Most of them are trued and glued to the rims, and softened with oil and cleaned up with the dauber thing. So I mean, if everybody's car was doing the exact same thing, I would be a little bit less upset about it. I mean, nobody likes their traction going off completely, but then it would, everybody's car would be doing the same thing. But some of them aren't, and it's like, well, what are you doing differently? They're either not telling the whole truth, which is possible, or they're doing the same things, and we're just getting different results for some reason. Whatever, I don't know.
Greg, was that at the race that you just posted on your yeah? Because it looked like you guys were still having a ball though. Those cars.
They're fun cars. They're fun cars. But if you look at that race, the cars that were getting lapped were the ones with poor traction. That was basically the final heat of the night. So anybody who had lost traction had already gotten used to the fact that their car was just going to be getting 12-second laps instead of 8-second laps. So they were just barely any throttle at all through the turns, and very slowly bringing up the speed in the straights so that it didn't just wheel spin the whole way down the straights. And you relearn how to drive your car when the traction goes away like that. But yeah, and a couple of the cars still had great traction, so they were zipping around the track just fine. And it's a fun track, so we have a good time. And the fuel races are fun, and lots of great angles on that track to make it look really cool. And of course, it's a fantastic looking track to begin with. So hard to not have fun watching that video. I'm done ranting and raving. I got other club things I can rant and rave about for all kinds of time. But Mike has his virtual hand up. What would you like to talk about club related, Mike?
Well, my gremlin with the fuel returned.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was really annoying. And we were going to use fuel to adjust some of the cars because there's about a 0.2 difference in the car. So we were going to use fuel as an adjustment factor. Well, that didn't work. It's really annoying. I haven't figured out what's going on. I thought I had it cured with the extra power strip in there, but apparently not. So I'll have to keep looking on that and see what happens. It activates the fuel and it says it's fueling on the screen, but it won't take any fuel. So it's with the brake button that is causing the problem. So
okay, so you get into the fuel menu and you hit the brakes to start the fueling process, but it doesn't
hit the lane change to start the fueling process.
No, your lane change switches between what you're wanting to do, and brake activates what you want it to do. So if you
yeah, but we only have fuel on, so then you hit
you hit brake.
No, we have to hit both the lane change and the brake in order to fuel it. Yeah.
You hit lane change and brake to open the pit menu because you don't have sensors like I do. So it doesn't open automatically. Once you're in the menu, you hit brake only.
Nope.
Yes, sir.
Well, okay. There's two settings. There's lane change and brake on it.
That's to enter the menu. That's not to activate. Once you're in the menu, we're talking about RCS 64 on Scalextric Digital. I'm making sure everybody else in the audience knows what we're talking about. So this is Scalextric Digital using the advanced power base, aka C7042, connected to a PC, and the PC is running Race Control System 64, RCS 64. When you have a track like mine with fuel sensors, you pull into the fuel lane, the sensors detect the car, and RCS 64 says, okay, he's in the pit lane. When the car has come to a complete stop, it can automatically pop up the the pit menu, as we call it, which is where you choose tires or fuel or whatever. When you're on a track that does not have sensors to detect when the car is in the pit lane, such as Mike's track, you have to tell RCS 64 that you are now in the pit lane and want to do those functions. In order to do that, RCS 64 has an option where you tell it which button or buttons you want to hold to get into the pit menu. That's what you've set to brake and lane change. That will open the pit menu. That is not how you use the pit menu. Even if the only thing you have is fuel, if you want to activate refueling, you press only the brake button. Just the brake button. Brake and lane change to bring up the pit menu. Now you see the fuel sign, with the gas pump handle and the word fuel. Press brakes. Press and release.
We can get that far.
Once you see that sign, press and release the brake button. That is all. If you're trying to press and hold lane change and brake, you're probably confusing the hell out of the program.
Well, the interesting thing is that I'm doing it the same way we've always done it, and it works fine. Yeah. Well,
so that's why it's not working.
Remains to be seen, but
that's why it's. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Factually, if you've been pressing and holding, or even pressing and releasing brakes and lane change after you've gotten to the fuel sign, you're doing it wrong, which is why it's not working reliably, because sometimes it'll say oh, he's hit the brake button because for whatever reason you happened to hit brake before lane change just for a split second and it said, oh, brake button and done it. And sometimes maybe you hit lane change first or both at the same time. And so it doesn't see brakes only for even a momentary split second and does not activate that function. It doesn't know what you want to do because you've pressed both buttons, not one button. And you should only be pressing the brake button. That is the correct way to
what you're saying is if you go into the pits and we've only got it on fuel, right?
Mhm.
All I have to do is press the brake button and it should activate.
Correct. After you've gotten into the pit menu, when you're looking at the sign that says fuel, press brake, press and release the brake button, and it'll go ding, ding.
We have gotten it into fuel mode because it says fuel on it.
Okay.
No matter whether I press the brake button separately once or try and do it again, it will not fuel.
Okay, so you have tried brake button only because you were telling me that you had been using both brake and lane change to activate the refueling.
Right.
So maybe I misheard you or maybe you misspoke or something, but just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Once you're in the pit menu, the buttons are used individually. They're only ever used individually. Lane change to change between fuel, tires, repair, whatever. Brakes to activate fueling or tire repair or whatever. So the next time you're testing this, look closely at the two little square indicators that show whether you're pressing the button.
It shows that you're pressing the brake button.
And it doesn't even do a little flash of the lane change button?
Nope.
That's super weird. I guess maybe we'll figure it out when I come visit over Christmas.
Well, maybe I'm tempted to leave it as it is now so we can reproduce it because it went away for a while and, I have no idea. But, we'll see.
Leave it the same. Yeah, I'm going to be vacationing for Christmas break near Mike, and I'll probably swing over and we'll do some racing while I'm vacationing over in the area. So either play with it or don't, whatever. If it's not, whatever the case may be, we'll either be troubleshooting or playing or both. Kind of like we did the other day when you came over to my house.
Yeah. Great. Which was great fun, by the way.
I'm glad you had fun. Now, and just I'll use this as a club corner because Mike came over. He was in the area doing other stuff. He swung by my house. We did a bunch of oxygen troubleshooting, which can be a whole nother topic, of course. But once we got that out of the way, we did some racing, just one-on-one racing. And as you guys know, he's primarily magnet racer, but he's moving into non-magnet racing, and I'm primarily non-magnet. And this is a very, very technical, tight, short race course. And his is very long and fast with technical sections as well. So at first, Crash City, Mike was just off at every corner. And then it was the hard corners. And then he started getting it. And he put one of his better cars on, and was it the Thunder Slot or an NSR? I forget.
It was a Thunder Slot.
The Thunder Slot. He had that car hooked up, and we at first did I think we just did a 20-lap race, and he was getting better throughout that race, and then we did a 40-lap race, and maybe 10 laps in, I'm like, he hasn't crashed at all. Okay, so I started giving him some chiding, I'm like, hey, Mike, you haven't crashed at all. Wow. Oh, look, the fuel's not burning. We might not have to fuel. I was basically trying to distract him just with chitter chatter. That wasn't working. So then I started talking about his mom. Not really, but basically I was really giving him the jeering to try to distract him. And he was just laser focused. He was able to tune out the nonsense. So and not a single crash in the entire 40-lap heat. And although my car was slightly under-tuned compared to his, I was driving a slotted Group C, I forget. I was driving this. I was driving a slotted Group C, and he was driving his NSR. But they were actually, with my driving and home track advantage, and his car, and it's nicely tuned up, and him getting used to my track. It was basically 40 laps, and if I hadn't gotten the jump start on him, it would have been door to door the whole time. Because basically I pulled away from him early on, and then he was fighting to catch up, or at least not get lapped. So we're basically a half a lap apart from each other for 40 laps in a row. While I'm trying to give him, distract him and make him mess up and stuff. So he's got it, and he's a fast learner, and it was magless. Yeah. So all respect to Mike. And hopefully you get some of those other guys, getting into the magnet, actual gravity traction cars.
Well, we did 2 sets this time.
Yeah.
Two different sets of cars. And the second set of GT cars I set up with one of each manufacturer, NSR, Sideways, Racer Sideways, and Slotted. And they were all within a tenth of each other, but it was pretty interesting. We had a good time. So I think eventually we're going to just do it.
Yeah.
And I also turned it down to 12 volts. We did it that way. And
Yeah.
then we played with the curves on RCS 64 a little bit to change the way it works for those guys a little bit. So they got to test it, and they discovered, as we have before, that sometimes having extra power doesn't make any difference. You're better off if you're able to be in the range.
Yeah.
And so that worked out pretty well. It was fun.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Of course. Then we did sports car 70 sports car race with mags. At the laps on the track for the magless cars are about 7.2, and we're doing 4.2 second laps with the mags. and they will fly off, believe me, but they are fast.
Yeah.
So we got it both ways.
Well, I look forward to playing on your track and playing with some of your rockets as well in a couple of weeks here.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah.
It sounded like you two guys had so much after school fun.
Oh yeah.
It was basically, I had to kick him out. It was coming around to dinner time, and I'm like, yeah, I got to kick you out here soon. But we probably could have kept racing for another 2 hours.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I'd have been able to drive home then, because I was so
yeah,
it was
you
bad
have to
as it
drive.
was. So
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got to go home safe.
Yep, I did.
All right, thanks, Mike. And Big Den, you've had your electronic hand up. What's happening in your neck of the woods?
Okay, how's the screen share going? You got it up there?
Not yet.
Oh, hang on.
There we go.
Got it now?
Oh, now we're looking at your folder. Okay, there we go. We got the picture now.
Yep. Okay, then good. Yeah. So this will probably be our last meeting at our local track for the year. We're having a bit of just a test and tune day in about a fortnight's time. A couple of our regulars were missing, but the pleasing point was we had a new guy turn up. He lives about 1 mile from me, and I'd never heard of him until 2 weeks ago. And he happened to buy some cars on eBay from a mutual friend, and we were put in contact. So he came out for his first meeting last Saturday. So that was our muscle car class. I drove a couple of on the day. I drove a couple of cars that the guy I've known for many years got me to tune for him. So which is the Alan Moffat Mustang in this case. There were the results. Some of the cars are running like the guy who won. He's running a full brass chassis, so that's obviously got an advantage over the essentially plastic cars. So
a little bit.
yeah. On to our NASCAR.
I don't believe that.
You don't think a brass chassis would have a distinct advantage over the plastic chassis on such a narrow, tall car?
No. No, as I say, it depends. Yeah, sorry, Dennis. Carry on. We've diversified. Dennis, carry on.
Yeah, no, that's okay, John. It's just maybe because of the types of tracks we use, which are mainly short, tight, twisty tracks. That the brass cars prove to be superior. In some of the classes, we don't allow that that variation, but and in some instances you will find that the plastics are getting pretty close to the other ones, but in generally, from the local tracks, I only run at this tracks, but the guy that started the brass car movement is I think I mentioned to John and you guys quite a while back, is an expat Canadian from I think around the Toronto area. So and he sort of started off buying ready to run cars, throwing away everything but the body and the wheels and tires and the gears, and making his own brass chassis. So and that's just the way a lot of the guys have gone that race at both venues. So so I managed anyway in this NASCAR class. I managed third with the tuned car, the '88 car that I tuned for my friend. Again, someone I've known since his teens and my not much out of teens, and there are our results. You can see that the results are a lot closer there.
Your podium.
When brass, when there wasn't the brass involvement. And our last class for the day was the Revo slot GT2s. Nice looking field of cars there. There's a couple of custom paint jobs, the yellow car and the blue car in the middle there.
Very nice.
And oh yeah, blue and yellow. Yeah. Why can't I remember to do black and white presentations? And I'm going to claim a share of the podium here because Cameron and I finished on the same lap, and no one thought to ask how far around the lap I was, and they just said because he was first on the computer, listed highest on the computer. So he was listed there, but I'll dispute that.
Well, he did get 33 laps in red lane, and you.
Yeah, on the count back. He might have won on the count back. Yeah, I agree. Moving a couple of 100 Ks away, the guys in Hobart, next year they're going to run a monthly Porsche GT3 Cup, and these are the old Ninko cars from about 2003, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
So they seem to have pretty much cornered the market down there. I don't have one myself, and for my my less than frequent trips to Hobart, I probably won't get one, or I'll have a loaner if they happen to have it on when I'm down there. The primary class they're running at the moment is the British Touring Car class there. That's an old photo of the 2020 series because they've had a bit of trouble posting current photos onto their website. So nice looking bunch of cars again. That's just the results from a recent round where the host Phil happened to take the win there, and I think that's just about that's about it. So I'll stop the share and hand over.
Perfect. Love hearing about the club activities and seeing those great cars. And I don't have a Ninko. I don't have an Ninko Porsche even. Yeah, those are never raced those.
Yeah, they were having a bit of a practice. But one guy and his dad have got 5 between them. But boy, they make the definite Ninko noise. There's no doubt you're driving a Ninko. So anyway,
are those the ones that they're like an angle winder setup and they have a conical pinion?
The pinion is angle cut. Yeah, I know the ones you mean. Yeah. They usually they came in sets. If you had a red set, the the gear and the pinion were matched to one another. Then the black set was another ratio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the analog club wants to do he's got a bunch of sets of cars for doing IROC sets, and he has a set of those Ninco GT cars that have those cone-shaped pinions, but they're plastic pinions and some of them are broken. So he's like, well, what am I supposed to put on there? You can't just put a straight pinion on it because it's designed to have that conical pinion, and they're not.
They're a bit like some of the scale electric press on nylon pinions. Is they do have that reinforcing ridge, I think, around the end of them. I'm not 100% sure. I've got a few sets of them in a box somewhere, but I obviously don't use them enough to be well versed in their design. So yeah, okay then.
Scour the internet for old new stock pack of pinion replacements or something, or 3D print them or something. Maybe Shapeways 3D print might work. All right, thanks for sharing, Big Den. Anybody else got any club corner they want to do, or should we start pulling topics? Or I know Martin, are you still on? Yeah, there you are, Martin. Did you want to ask about the thing you mentioned?
Yeah, sure. I've seen a Tyre tour. Let me just see what it's called, from a company called Process, and that's how you pronounce it. And I was just wondering if anybody's got any experience of using these things. Or process, Tyre tour, and cleaner for 132 slot cars. It comes with a 220 volt adapter, which seems quite expensive, I'm not sure if it's a Tyre tour or if it's just not much better than putting your car back wheels onto glass paper, really. I was just wondering if anybody's got any experience of using this Process Tyre tour.
Is that the one?
That's the one.
That's the one?
That's the one.
Yeah, does anybody, I mean, I can make some conjecture, and we've talked about this, outside of the chat. Does anybody have any experience using this machine? Guess not. Maybe somebody out there. My take on it is that it's basically a convenient way to have sandpaper on a track, and it will enable you to make a smoother egg if your wheel and tire are not already concentric, because the primary function or the primary design aspect of a tire turning machine is that the tire is held a set distance away from the sanding plate or drum or whatever it is. So as those things are spinning and moving, the tire is not able to get closer or farther away, and so the high spots get taken off, and then you make your adjustment to bring it closer to the sanding surface to take off any additional high spots. And so you're slowly removing the high spots so that at the end you have perfect concentricity with the axle. Even if the wheel is completely wonky, you have concentricity with the outside surface of the tire to the axle. Whereas this thing, you're basically having to do the same work that you would if you're doing sandpaper on a track, and that is carefully hold the car up off of that surface so that it's taking off the high spots. If you just kind of let it sit there, or lackadaisically just let it move around back and forth, then you're just making it smoother, which can help, right, for taking off the shiny outer surface of a tire or a stock tire that still has mold release agents, or just a really super shiny surface, and depending on the type of rubber, that's bad. But it's not going to true your tires unless you are super careful with how you do it. I know guys who can true a set of tires using this method, but they're basically they have rock steady hands, and they're just doing it super carefully and very, very patiently, and they get great results. But I'm not that kind of person.
No way.
Greg, I think you just went into the tip
the tip realm of if you want to do it on your own and just do it with sandpaper on a track, here's how to do it. I'll see if
There
I
you
can
go.
get a tip for me so he can actually share his technique, because I
We
don't.
have a gentleman at Big Lou's in Culver City when I go. He doesn't have this one. It's a different type, but everybody uses it to scuff their tires before a race.
Yeah, this would be great as a scuffer. You know, if you've already
Yeah.
gotten true, or you don't care about, like, if you're magnet racing and you don't really need it to be perfectly true, then scuffing up will do the trick. Phil, have you ever used something like this or done the sandpaper thing, or do you have something else you want to talk about? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find in all the years I've used Zoom, I've actually never used the reaction tab to raise my hand, so Club Corner got past me.
No worries. We'll hit you for some Club Corner. Want to make sure everybody gets their input on this topic. Does anybody else have any input on this Pros' Tire Tour? Mike, Phil, or did you?
No, I mean, I've used the sandpaper method, but usually what I do is I just take some sandpaper, tape it down to the track, and my tire tour, literally, that's what I do now. And then what I do is I have a little wedge that I put underneath the car so that the tire stays true. And as you start to slide that wedge in, it holds the tires equidistant from the track surface in its wedge shape, so that you can use it on various diameter tires, and it still gets the same touch to the surface of the track. And it ensures that I don't have to be really steady-handed, right? So I just have a little wooden pin that's wedge shaped, and it actually was a I bought it at a hobby shop. It was like a sanding stick, but it was just wedge shaped. So what I did was I went, wow, that's kind of a cool way, and I just stuck it underneath the car and started sliding it forward. It raised the tires up, and then what I do is I let the tires start going, the car start coming forward till the tires just touch down on the sandpaper, and I get a nice even truing of the tires that way. Now, I will say, anyone who's using that sandpaper method in a car with the motor running, the danger you always pose is you could strip a gear, or cause one of the gears either on the motor shaft or on the axle to break its seal and then start spinning, right? So I don't recommend that like every user go do this, but if you're using the sandpaper method, that's what I found works best, right? Is have a spacer that can hold your tires to the right distance before you start sanding.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, that's a great tip. I mean, even if you just have a pack of the cheap wood shims that you get for when you're doing like finish work in a house.
Yeah, doing door jams and stuff. Yep. Yeah.
Slide that under the car and then get the wheels off by sliding the shim far enough under the car, and then pull the shim out, or however you do it.
Yeah.
The wheels are just barely touching, and use that as your control to keep the height correct.
Yeah, because you could do the same thing with a door shim, and if it's too wide to fit between you got tires on each side of the axle, but if you cut that shim so it fits between the tires, you can slide it right in from the back, and then you can use it to raise and lower the tires appropriately and do the same thing. I use a sideways approach with that sanding stick, but you could easily do that with a door shim, and it's crude, but it's workable.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That would also help.
I do make ride height gauges too that are not stepped, that are just a straight like the door shim, but it's metal.
Yeah.
As long as whatever you're using doesn't interfere with the crown gear on an inline car or the spur gear on a sidewinder car or make sure there's no interference there, so that the shim is not holding one side of the car up higher than the other. You might need to chassis, but something to help maintain the height so that only the high spots are getting sanded until the whole thing gets all the high spots sanded off. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, is sanding off all the high spots.
Here's a thought. We used to use playing cards to shim pool tables. And this wouldn't be very elegant, because you'd have to have, it could get messy if you have the playing cards all around the room. But they're so thin, just put the playing cards underneath and it's wider, so it would support both tires. And put the deck of playing cards underneath and just start pulling playing cards out until it starts sanding. And then when it does, then pull another one out and then pull another one out.
Yeah, Phil also hit on some of the things that you want to watch out for when you're truing or scuffing or sanding the wheels in situ in the car. Is if the car has a magnet in it, you really want to keep something, use a shim of some sort so the car doesn't stick down to the track if you're using track or any kind of metal surface, because then that'll over torque the motor and you're more likely to strip gears, like Phil was saying. If you apply too much pressure, you could of course melt the tires, but also overheat the motor. And this is contraindicated, as in you should not do this if the car is a digital car, because if you draw too much power through that motor by putting too much torque, making it apply too much torque,
load on the motor, yeah.
You could overload the chip and you might pop the chip. You might damage components on the chip. One could say, oh, well, my chips are great chips and then that'll never happen, but there's no chip in the world that's going to survive way too many amps being drawn from it. So if it's a digital car, consider removing the chip temporarily, just so that the chip is out of the equation. And if you have spare motor pod or chassis or something that you can put the axle into to do it, then make a mule car that is, its sole purpose is to help you do this process. That way you don't wear out, shorten the life of the motor, let alone the digital chip in the process of doing this.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, big deal there.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
I mean, the pros of the thing looked like a convenient tool, but it might be a little bit expensive for what it does. You could probably
that's what I was thinking. I was looking for a cheap alternative to the hoodie, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
You actually run, Martin.
We all.
What cars are you running your track?
Actually, that thing looked like it was something out of the 60s, for crying out loud.
What were you saying,
What
John?
cars do you run, Martin?
Yeah, what kind of cars? What kind of cars?
Oh, cars? Oh, no, I meant the actual.
John was asking Martin what kind of cars he's
Oh,
wanting.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I use a Caterham or Scale Electric, NSR, slotted right across the board, really.
Right. A non-magnet?
With magnets, usually.
All right. Even with magnets, I assume you would have used N22s or NSR Ultras, G25s coming out now. All you have to do, Martin, is take your body off, take the old tyres off, put your new tyres on, make sure they're seated properly. Don't use any fluids, don't use any spit, any lighter fluid, anything like that. Just sit them on the tyres, the tyres on the wheels, bolt it back together and just keep running it and running it and running it. By the time you've done 100 laps, mate, they're going to be as true as using a hoodie, an area free or anything, mate, I can tell you.
Oh, brilliant. Even better.
Just stick them on and think, right, I'm going to spend the next half an hour just running the car around, 20 minutes or whatever, clean the tyres, make sure they haven't moved. You can just quickly just turn it upside down, just roll the tyres around, make sure they haven't sort of come off the hub. And by the time you've done 100 laps, they're going to be as true as putting them on a true, mate.
Oh, brilliant.
You got any spare Ninco track?
Don't oil them. Don't put any oil on them.
No, I don't put any oil. I don't put anything on them.
Yeah.
If you got some old,
you shouldn't have any issues.
or maybe old
You
Skeletor.
are more likely with the slightly softer, something like Extremes, possibly with Ultras. If you're running magnets and you've got sort of R4, R5 corners, you may start getting them to start coming off the sides of the hubs. But obviously that's G-force and, without the magnet, you're not going around that corner as fast. But no oils, put them on, do some laps, and they'll be as true as any truing machine, mate. That's that thing. I think that's a waste of money, but it's a marketing tool. If they sell it, they make a profit. So, but
Yep.
It's not going to do any benefit really.
Oh, brilliant! Thanks, guys.
I was gonna say, if you got some Ninco track or Skeletic Classic or SCX.
Well, you use the track anyway.
with the stuff that's got some texture to it.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
better. And then
So
like,
as I say, as you know, I did the digital. We did the Disca GT3, and obviously we have run GT3 on rubber tires. It sponged the Euro series, but with the LMPs, they're all handouts, and we're all running alloys, air hubs. Some got foam in. Some teams we actually run solid hubs on our 4 GT. Did have holes in it. They're lightweight wheels, but we just pop them on. You make sure they're nice and round, and off you go. You just you told the driver, look, you've got brand new tires on, so you take 10, 20 laps slowly, and then off you go. They're trued, and off you're racing. You're back up to speed again.
yeah,
Yes. Great stuff.
If you put the right tire on, we went from we started on F22s, which we thought were actually a little bit faster than the ends. So I think the fastest time for us was set using the apps. But the ends were pretty close, but
yeah.
I would suggest that that's probably more of a tenable or reasonable way to do things when you're talking about metal tires or metal wheels that are already true and concentric. But when we're talking about press-on plastic that might have gotten wonky in the assembly process, or and you're not allowed to change those for metal wheels, that a truing machine.
Yeah, that's what we do. It's as you said, you're on about pinions, etc. The other thing is your bearings. Doesn't do your bearings any.
Yeah, they'll be loose.
It might be nice and tight when you start. When you finish, they won't be.
Yeah.
So just keep your eye on your bearings, lube them up. You
Yeah.
just wipe it off.
Lots of ways to skin this particular cat. So let's move on from this topic. Phil, you wanted to. You're welcome. Phil, you want to do a club corner?
Well, maybe it'd be better to just stick with the format. I can do club corner next week.
No, tell us what you got. What's happening?
Well, okay, I guess sorry for all the viewers to be going backwards, but anyhow, we had a little race go on. You always hear me talk about the Red Barn Raceway and where it's at and all that stuff. But interesting enough, a bunch of things came together with our club this last month. We had a little race, and I'll just do a quick little screen share here to get a look at that. So hopefully folks can see this pretty quickly. Anyhow, this is the Facebook page, and I will put the links to all this stuff in the chat. Greg, you can then put it up online. Sure. But this is the Facebook page that has the club Facebook. You can get in here and see all the schedules and all that kind of stuff. Real interesting. We had a real nice endurance race coming up here this past week. I recorded some video, which I'm sure will probably lag a little bit. I'll press play. I'm sure it's going to lag. I'm going to try this for Club Corner on Worldwide Slot Car Chat. Try to do this.
That's actually pretty good.
This is the Gilmore Car Museum. The track is known as Red Barn Raceway, and we got an LMP endurance race with 12-minute heats going right now. 4 heats. Each driver drives a 1 lane, 12 minutes, and then there's a rotation, so everybody gets a chance to run in each of the different lanes. You can see down here on the track, there are white, red, blue, and yellow lanes here. That's how you put the cars back when someone deslots. Right now, we're in our second heat. Here's off, and I'm doing marshalling. And sorry about that little pause to help the racer, but that's what we have going right now. If you look overhead, you'll see that we have various around the room. There are displays all around that show the score of the race. Okay, so anyhow, there's a little bit of video that, that goes on for 2 minutes. And if you want to see the rest, the link will go into the chat. And if you want to put it up, it's a share to Google Photos, and people will be able to just click it. They can see the video, they can download it, whatever they want to do. So anyhow, there's that. And then, interesting enough, we race a couple times a month at this particular track. But what was also kind of neat here, just for folks who are just out there going, hey, how about a little eye candy here as we head into the Christmas season? There's this magazine called Model Car Racing Magazine, and it's not printed anymore, but they have a lot of sample issues online. There's actually quite a few pages in their sample issues. Don't want to plug them for any other commercial purpose, but there's also this article that was placed online about the track, our club track. And you can see here in these facing pages in this magazine is the track as it's finished with its landscaping over here. And you can even see the progress of some of the surfacing that was done to do the dioramas and such around the track. So just kind of a neat thing. Again, you can just see and read about that stuff later. But in the racing, it was really interesting. I had not raced my LMP cars for like 3 years. So they literally sat on the shelf. And you talk about tips. When you let a slot car sit, and really anyone who gets in this hobby should just recognize this. And a lot of us old hands at it, we know this. Slot car sits on a shelf, and as it sits there, it may develop patina on some of the electrical connections. It might also, like in the case of a Scalextric or a slotted, or not a slotted, but a Scalextric, or like a Carrera or an SCX car where there's some kind of a connector plate that the braids will push on. If you let those sit a long time, sometimes what will happen is that plate's there and then the braid touches the bottom of it. And if you don't make that connection really strong, you'll show up at your club slot car race with this car you haven't run in a year, and it'll be really slow. And you'll spend an hour trying to figure out why your car is about 20% slower than everybody else's car. I highly recommend that anyone who's got a car that's set on the shelf, give it the once over. Just look at it, look where stuff is, clean a few connections, maybe, just use a pencil eraser on those little tin or copper connectors, and suddenly your car will work better. But you can buy, electrical contact cleaner at your local hardware store and just shoot some on, it'll evaporate, and it'll do a wonderful job of making your car run better. But I hadn't run for a long time, discovered that the car needed to be tuned, and did a little bit of tuning. And, out of about 11 or 12 people, I ended up in 5th place. So I didn't get to the podium, but I had a whiz bang of a good time with a car or a couple cars that I hadn't run for, like I said, 3 years. I hadn't even put them on a track. So good, clean fun.
Awesome.
Look at the links if you want to see more. But the racing was good. 12-minute heats, and 4 of those gave you 48 minutes worth of racing as you rotated through the various lanes, and just a good time. So folks, I recommend you get out there, find your local club, do some racing.
Awesome. Good stuff, Phil. Thanks for sharing. Great looking track too. And yeah, I'll put the links in the description. Make sure you put them in the chat so I don't forget. And yeah, if you're down there, go check it out. Big Dan, I thought I saw your hand up earlier. Did you have something you wanted to get to?
Oh yeah, it was just sort of like an extension of what Martin was talking on. There's a guy in New Zealand makes one of those little trackside, truers or cleaners. I'll just see if I can get the share up. Oh, here it is. Yeah, there it is. There.
Yep.
Yeah. I won't scroll back down. Oh, can I scroll? But anyway, it's powered by 2 9-volt. He's 3D printed it, as you can see. 2 9-volt batteries. I'm pointing with my finger here, which doesn't come up on the screen. You've got like an on-off switch there, and of course it's got braid. It's just got a couple of bits of braid in there, inlaid into it. The 9-volt batteries sit under this little box here, and this is either a sanding pad or a piece of sponge, depending on whether you're cleaning or just doing a light sanding. But it's he does quite a few other 3D things. It's called Slot Car Innovations, if anyone wants to Google it and have a look. But I made the mistake of took it with me one day, and I left it sitting in a hot part of the car, and it became turned into a tyre untruer rather than a truer. So. But the 9-volt batteries are perfectly fine. Yeah. Okay. I just thought I'd throw that one in. But that one was about $40 New Zealand. So if the one that Martin was looking at was $66.95 US, I'd agree that it's probably a little bit overpriced.
Yeah, and I've made the same thing with a either a spare piece of track and a 9-volt or some the base from a car. You get a brand new car and it comes with on a plinth. Put a couple of strips of copper tape on there. I've done that and just run them over the backside and solder them to a 9-volt battery connector. I forget what the brand was. I think it might have been G-Slot. The plinth actually had rails in it, steel rails, like a slot track in the plinth. So I turned that into a tire, a car cleaner powering thing for various purposes. So it's really just a matter of making a convenient thing that's got, contacts for the braids to touch and power, adding switches and dials and, plate, sandpaper or, chamois or sponges or whatever, DIY. I've seen it made all kinds of different ways. So I'm sure you could bodge something up, Martin, if you just look around your house or the hardware store for some stuff.
Yeah, well, I usually use the glass paper if at all. I usually try and put new tires on.
Yeah. Same diff, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. And we still got about 20 minutes left. This is a good opportunity to just open the floor. Do you got something you want to talk about, something you want to ask about, get our opinions on, whatever?
Greg, I just thought, just another thing came to my mind. I do have one of those Area 3 tyre truers. I think they were originally Australian design before the professor got hold of them.
Yep.
I've got my mate Phil has got a couple of 3D printers, so I might get him to try that version of the reciprocating arm and give it a go. Then I can report back yay or nay as to whether it's for anyone who's got one of those truers.
I'm sure it's a yay. Kev did a great job. I think Kev's been on here once or twice. I know he's been on the 143rd chat that Lloyd hosts on Mondays a few times. Does lots of different 3D printing projects. Has a lot of different things on Thingiverse, and it looks like a great machine. I would expect it to work just fine, but I wouldn't. I can't do the quality control if I don't have the machine to put it on. So
that's understood.
So yeah, absolutely. If you've got a friend that has it, print it out and use it. And I'll try to remember to put the link in the description below to the original version, Kev's version, so that people can go find that easily if they're just learning about it through here. Okay. Anything else? Anybody want to talk about, ask about, tell about, talk about, chat about? How's the weather? I'll bring up my list of topics. Let's see what we haven't gotten to for a while. We just talked about that. Let me bring this up here. So, all right, come on, web browser. What are you doing?
Oh, Michael has his hand up. Have you got
something?
All right,
Michael.
Further on the tire thing, I've started using these slotted G25 tires, and we had a lot of slag come off them when I started using oil and stuff to make them sticky. So I stopped using that completely, and after a while, they didn't start shedding anymore, and they actually had decent grip throughout rather than just having the grip originally and then tailing off. So I on those particular tires, that the preparation doesn't seem to be that particularly effective.
Or counterproductive.
Yeah, counterproductive. Yeah, and the same thing has happened to you. They're picked up a lot of slag. off the track. And if you clean them with tape, they were fine. But, still, and now I've used them for the 2 weeks now without doing any prep on them, and they've been much more consistent.
Yeah.
And this is on scale extra track.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely not going to do anything else to the Pioneer tires. And your experience with the G25 reminds me a lot of F22, slotted F22 tires. They're nice and soft and have plenty of grip, and putting oil on them helps, but then they start to deteriorate much more quickly. And a long time ago, we had guys putting on new sets of tires before we were through a series just because they were wearing their tires down so much from softening them so much. And so we haven't done any G25 tires yet, but I'm sure that'll come up soon. So I'll find out firsthand what that's like. I did bring up the thing that I was wanting to share, so I'm going to share this real quick, and then we'll get to Dewan. Thanks, John. This is just a quick little thing. I made some 3D printed things for this guy, and he is in Missouri, and Missouri, in Owensville, having a 6-hour endurance race on his track at Insane Speedway on the 11th. And if you go to this thread on Slot Forum, and I'll go ahead and copy that and put it in the chat so I don't forget, I'm sure he would be happy to have you come to his track. This is his track, built by himself in what appears to be his basement or lower floor of his abode. And fantastic looking track. It actually has some pretty steep elevation changes, some banking. I think the front straight is this kink, and the front straight is slightly banked, so you don't have to let up quite so much on that. And he's going to have some fun. So if you're in the Owensville, Missouri area, you can go have some fun at his track. Just go to that thread and contact him and find out exactly where he lives. All right, what's going on, Dewan? He was ready to go.
See this model of the Mach 5. I need a driver in mind, and there's a driver in this one. I'm trying to figure out where could I possibly get, and there's only one driver that could be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out how should I go about acquiring a driver for this, as well as the one for the Shooting Star Racer X's car. Any ideas?
Do you need a new Speed Racer figure? You're not going to use that one?
Well, this is not my model.
Oh, that's not yours. Okay. So you have the car, but you don't have the Speed Racer figurine.
Are you up to making one on your own, Dewan?
Not really.
Because again, like the body would be fairly straightforward, because even Monogram has a full driver figure. That's no. But as far as the face, or and you're doing 124th or 125th, right?
Yes.
You might be able to use like a Precer figure and put the Revell half helmet from the Happy driver in 124th scale.
Yeah.
You have to you'll have to do some surgery to the helmet and stuff. I mean, that could work, because Speed Racer always had like a clear shield, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And just a regular open face helmet.
Well, in as part of the process, I went and found someone that was selling the figurine for both Racer X and Speed Racer. It came with the model kits, so it's a matching model for the full action figures that stand up on the outside of the thing. And I was going to try to. They're going to be here, I think, Thursday or Friday. So
that would be because even if you just use like the upper torso and do some, surgery, if you will, to the rest of it to make them sit. Yeah, that would look awesome.
Yeah. So
the figurine kits are the right scale?
Yeah, they came with the cars. They were scaled. They were the stand-up figurines that they sold with the model cars.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those models that you got were
heavier. They're I was trying to get something a little bit. The cars are pretty heavy in and of itself. think one of them weighed 170 grams, and the other one's 155 grams. So.
Well, they're not meant to be competitive
No.
against, you know.
Yeah, they're little touring cars that go around the track.
Yeah, yeah.
Rating.
And if you need some sort of tips on how to sort of, carve those, there was a great guy named Shepard Payne who did a lot of military figures. And he did a lot of stuff in 1/32, but I mean, a lot of his techniques you can translate to any scale, and he was a master at it.
I'll do some research on that. That's what I needed. I was listening to Steve. I know he's gone. He mentioned that he gets his figurines from a different.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you who. It's Mark Tyler, and his site is called Immense Miniatures, and he's a great guy. I've interviewed him a couple of times on my channel, and you can contact him directly, and maybe he can actually, do something for you himself. Again, Mark and his wife both worked in Hollywood as well. They, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from the original Ghostbusters? Yeah, they worked on that and stuff like that. All the animatronics from a whole bunch of other different movies. They're wonderful, wonderful people. So yeah, by all means, get in touch with Mark.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Sounds like you got some leads there.
Yep.
Good deal. Anybody else want to share something? I'll go ahead and share the controller holders I did for the Insane Raceway, Insane Speedway guy that I just shared his event. He was talking about doing new controller holders, and I was like, hey, I do 3D printed ones, and then we worked together, and these are his latest pictures of his track. He added this whole controller station thing on the outside there with color-coded areas and like stuff holders and things, and of course the controller holders. There's a picture of the blue controller holder and another side view of that, and it says Insane Speedway in 3D printed lettering on the side of the thing.
Greg, did you do the holders for him on his wall as well? Because I noticed in the first picture there was like a line of controllers.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm thinking that's probably a those kind of press-in tool, like garden tool holders.
Oh,
he's got us hanging up on. But no, I did not make that for him. But I did. The fun thing about the controller holders was he actually posted the drawings. Let me see if they're on this page here. We go back one more page. And he basically said, can you do controller holders for me? How about these? Something like this. So this is what he posted. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that. And like half an hour later, I had that. And then he's like, oh, okay. Because he was planning on getting them done with, bending, 1/8 inch aluminum or whatever. And then painting them. And he's got his event coming up. So he didn't, he's got all these long list of to-dos that he wanted to get done, and not having to make the controller holders saved him some time. So so he got those, and I sent them over to him, and there's all 4 of them all done sitting on my printer. It was fun.
Did you just print them with the color that he wanted?
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things I love about. I hate painting of any kind, right? So I have a huge shelving system with 100 different colors of filament just so that I can do stuff like this.
Now, wait a minute. You put the blue and yellow together for a reason.
That must have been subconscious, actually. I did not put them. I did not intentionally put them in that order. So I will admit that it was probably subconscious. I subconsciously did that. But yeah. So, and the way that I printed the lettering is embossed, so they are sticking out from the surface of the controller holder. So if we wanted those to pop a little bit more, he could just dry brush over them and with white or black or whatever and make that lettering pop if he wanted to do that.
Is that PLA?
That is PLA. Pretty much the only reason not to use PLA gets a bad rap. It's easy to print with, and it's stiff and strong. but it gets a bad rap because it's not very resistant to high temperatures. So if that were in on his car dashboard, those would just flop over and melt. Like Big Den was saying, he had that machine that was left in a car in Australia, I'm sure, got hot. Don't leave a PLA thing in a hot car. But down in his basement on his track, those will be fine for no problem. If a thing is going to be in a hot place, then it needs to be printed from ABS or PETG or a variety of other materials that are more suitable for high temperature environments.
How thick did you make those?
I designed them to his drawing, and so basically the all of the thicknesses are about 3 millimeters.
Okay.
They're not printed solid. I think I used 3 perimeters, so that would be about 1.5. Well, not a full 1.5 because it wasn't solid. So about a 1 millimeter perimeter wall thickness, and then infill. So I didn't use any special tricks to make it stronger, other than I did design there to be kind of a bracing on the inside of where the bend was. I put a bracing here because it is thin, relatively thin, and it's not as stiff as metal. So I did some bracing here and there to make sure that it wouldn't just go when you flick it. It'll go. But yeah, I discovered that with my original 3D printed controller holders based on the slot car corner, bent metal controller holders, that the plastic was flexible enough to flex quite a bit. And generally they're functional, but if you flick them or mess with them, they'll vibrate quite a bit. So when I was doing this design, I'm like, I want to avoid that, so I'll put in some bracing to make that less prone to doing that. Down to the last few minutes, anybody got anything they want to ask about or show or tell or anything? Gary, you're up early. I see you yawning there. Thanks for joining us, though.
Oh, it's getting up to 8 o'clock in the morning at the moment. So yeah.
Okay, so you were only up 2 hours ago, and then you were up before that.
I put a message out to everyone for Dewan that if he's going to get in contact with that guy, see if he can do a Robin figure for the Batmobile as well.
There you go.
Scale everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, people were asking me about that as well, and it's like, yeah, I saw the Skeletrix Batmobile is a wee bit undersized because that was a massive car.
Yeah. Well, it's got to fit in the standard box, doesn't it? So it's
yeah. And on the track.
yeah. Well, there is a on Thingiverse, I think it was, or no, somewhere else. I actually downloaded the file for the other Batmobile, the George Clooney one, the other huge 6.5 ton, 18 meter wide thing, and everything else. You can't fit it on the plate. You've got to cut it into about 3 sections to get it printed. But then what are you going to do with it? It's only static then.
Yep. Yeah, there was a Skeletric, but it was like the one. It was not 143rd, but it wasn't 132. It was like smaller. It was that weird kind of.
Again, to fit it in that box. Yep. That's it.
Yep.
Well, even the Aurora model from the 60s, I mean, it's not entirely accurate, but it was even still a wee bit undersized, and yet it's still so much larger than the Skeletrix one.
Yeah,
I have that one.
But it's good that they're doing that sort of thing.
And gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah, because you got to go to the folks who have the money and who want to buy it.
Yeah. Wow. How many different movie cars can they produce over the next 20 years?
All of them? They can go ahead and do all.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to Kit, the Knight Rider Kit car.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's got the lights. It's got the light bar and everything in it. Apparently,
I heard it did. I heard it's gonna. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in the '80s, so Knight Rider, A-Team, all those things. Yeah. Just Dukes of Hazzard. Obviously, we already got multiple General Lee cars, but yeah, then the Back to the Future, and then another Back to the Future, Mad Max.
Yes,
just the Bond series. I mean, Bond alone, you could do. There's the Esprit, a 507. You can go on and on.
Aren't they doing an Esprit soon? I think they.
Yeah, that's in the works apparently.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, they've done bunches of the classic Bond cars. They've been doing Bond cars for years.
Yep.
So, Phil, you don't already have the Mad Max and the Back to the Future and
Yeah, I got a bunch of those, but anytime they put out the movie cars, what's cool is there are a lot of people who like will look at your track and they see race cars and they're like, oh, I really don't want to race.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be a racer. But if you're showing them, the Dukes of Hazzard car, if you're showing them Starsky and Hutch, when they're looking at General Lee or the Starsky and Hutch car, a Bond car, a Mad Max, they're looking at those. They're like, oh, well, now I can identify with this, and then they'll drive those around forever. I get so many times when I'm out in a public place and I've got a track that I throw together at the marina or something like that. Or even people come through the museum, like they walk in, they see the race cars, they're not that hot about it. But if you pull out like the Carrera, Lightning McQueen and those cars, they're like, oh my God, their heads are like, oh, I gotta let me in there. And then the kids go crazy. And so I really like when the hobby companies put those out. And like you said, we've all watched those shows because they had some cool car in them. So it doesn't hurt to have them in your collection. For me, it doesn't hurt. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them a lot.
Definitely. How about you, Big Den?
Black Beauty.
Oh, yeah, that's good idea. Okay.
Oh, from Green Hornet?
Yeah, I have that one.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if they did some of those.
They did. They have Black Beauty.
Oh, those 125th models, they did.
132.
No, 132nd. Yeah, it was a repop. Polar Lights did it with a really bad chassis, but it was the repop of the 60s body.
In 132nd?
You betcha.
Oh, wow.
I have to look that one up.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to go get it?
Yeah, go ahead and go get it. I want to hear what Big Den has his hand up for. What's up?
Yeah, can anyone remember the movie The Great Race with Jack Lemmon and Coney Curtis? I think I'd lean towards the Hannibal Twin 8. I'd like to say with the
or Professor Fate's car, right?
Yeah, that was it. That was the
Hannibal Twin 8.
Hannibal Twin 8. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
And then there's the line of Wacky Races mobiles.
And they've been released. Yeah, they've actually been released as models. Yeah.
They're making a return. There's a hobby shop over in Australia that's got them on back order.
Or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I would love to see a release of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That'd be awesome. That is crazy.
Just the Bang Bang part would be all right. Oh, there's so many different celebrity ones that's on there. Where is it?
Thanks, Dewan. You saved me a trip, brother. Thank you, man.
There we go. All right,
that's it.
Hold on. Let me spotlight Dewan here.
Well, don't forget the oh yeah.
I can't see the body in that shiny box.
It's the Black Beauty. That's why.
And it's black, so it's probably shiny too.
Yep.
Yeah. Open it up.
Can't get the reflection.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's in there. I believe you.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that looks pretty cool.
$25 on eBay. Buy it now.
Yeah. But probably not anymore though. That was probably
it was a fluke.
Yeah, that was when those things were piling up in hobby stores is what it was. I remember seeing the other ones for, $10-15. I didn't want them because I'm like, I don't want this cheesy looking model. What are you pointing at now, man? I can't hear you, and you're just.
Oh, highlight the one. He's got the body. He actually opened it.
Oh, okay. You opened it. Okay. There we go.
Oh yeah.
That looks a little big for 132nd.
Oh, it's a huge car though. It was based on the Chrysler Imperial, 1966. It was massive. The thing could have come with a dance floor, for crying out loud.
It was a boat.
It is a boat.
It was over 20 feet long.
Oh my God.
Huge car. Oh yeah.
Well, that is crazy. And on craziness, we will end our recording. As always, come and join a live chat. It's a lot of fun. Until then, everybody, bye.